So, as more Omicron cases are confirmed in Canada, officials are utilizing the precautionary principle. Better to keep people in quarantine now as information about the new variant comes in. But what's really going on inside these quarantine hotels? Travelers returning from banned countries are claiming they're being neglected. Some are saying, we're underfed, we're being mistreated. Tiffany Guara is a Canadian who's under mandatory travel quarantine after returning from Cairo, Egypt, with her 5-year-old and her 8-year-old and her husband. Canadians who work in Egypt. Egypt, of course, one of the additional countries Canada added to the list of countries from which foreign travel is banned. So she just got out of a quarantine facility after almost 4 days ago. I think you just got out a few hours ago, Tiffany, and good to talk to you again. I spoke to you earlier today. What was it like for you and your family inside this quarantine hotel? Can you describe what you went through?
Thanks, Evan. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was an extremely difficult and, onerous and traumatic process for myself and our 2 daughters. My husband hasn't traveled back with us as yet. TBD if he decides to follow. But I mean, it's grueling. It's isolated. You don't have fresh air. You can't exercise. You can't leave. The food is atrocious and it's not nutritious. And there's just, it's absolutely, mind-boggling that you could hold healthy, law-abiding, fully vaccinated citizens in these kinds of conditions. We had 2 negative PCR tests before getting on the plane to come to Canada. And then we waited, 3 days to have a 3rd Canadian PCR, which resulted also negative, while we were waiting in the hotel.
So you get your PCR test in Egypt, and then you get another one where you stop over in Frankfurt. You pay for all these tests yourself. How much were they?
PCR tests in Egypt are about $100 a person, so that's $300. And we needed quick turnaround in Frankfurt, so we had 1.5-hour tests, which are about 179 euros a piece. So it's an extremely large expense for a family, for sure.
So the government didn't cover those. We'd heard that they would be covered, but those aren't covered. Then you get to Calgary. You get to this quarantine hotel. How long were you stuck in this? Now, a lot of people say, okay, well, you're traveling and this is the ban and people get it. But, you had these 2 kids. Like, how long were you basically stuck in your room with your 2 kids?
So we arrived Saturday and went through the whole process, at arrival and all of the testing and things like that. And then we left today, which is Tuesday in the afternoon. Our test came back very early this morning. So it took, 3 days to get our test back.
You're double vaccinated. You had your PCR test. You wrote on Facebook, the food's horrible. It arrives cold. It has limited nutritional value. No fruit and vegetables outside of potatoes. You basically got tap water and a little coffee. For the kids are going stir crazy, you wrote. No fresh air, no physical activities. We're doing yoga and schoolwork. I bought a few card games, but only you can fill so many hours. If you were to describe to the federal government who's saying, you've got to go through this, what was it like for your family?
I mean, it's difficult for a family. It's difficult for travelers. I mean, mentally, physically, you come off a long flight. In our case, we flew for 30 hours, and then you go back into these kinds of situations. Like I said, we're law-abiding citizens. We've quarantined at our home numerous times in the past. We understand what the government is trying to do. Don't necessarily agree with the xenophobic approach that they've taken to targeting these 10 countries. I think in 2021, almost 2022, it's crazy to think that any variant of COVID comes from a single country or a single source, be it 1 or be it 10. We live in a global reality. I think these targeted measures are unnecessary, and I think they'll in the end be ineffective. It seems like it was, poorly thought out and ill-designed and a knee-jerk reaction to try to stem some of the panic over this variant. This isn't the first variant. It's the 9th variant of interest. It's how many times are we going to go through this? And to strand travelers overnight. I mean, I'm an expatriate. I live abroad. I'm well educated. I'm nimble. I'm fairly young. That's not the case. There were elderly travelers in the airport who came off of Nile cruises, and they don't have Wi-Fi connectivity. And these are things that are difficult for people to manage when the rules change overnight. And they've done everything they can do up to that point to do the best they can to make it right and follow the rules.
Yeah, I couldn't even reach you. We couldn't even call Tiffany Guara directly. We had to go through the Red Cross, and I had to call her. Just quite something. Okay, Tiffany Guara, I really appreciate it. First of all, I'm glad you're out and you're healthy and you're safe and your kids are safe. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.